Hey everybody, it's Lebo with Lebo's Pinball, and the last episode of the Bankable restoration project I had talked about where I was cleaning some of the metal parts. Came out really shiny. Of course, that affects no way of gameplay, but you got to do it. And I had ended it where I'd moved to this bracket here, and actually I just polished that one up a little while ago, and now it's moving on to the next section, and the next section that I'm going to move to, it's a little bit of cleaning and a little bit of rebuilding and a little bit of, well, everything, and the picture kind of shows it. Take a look at this. Wow. Talk about burnt wood. We had a situation. So I don't know really exactly what the story was, but I suspect that what had happened was at some point this coil probably got locked on for a very, very long time. That's my guess. And, to the point to where it actually, maybe even started really burning. And this wood has actually been burnt. I've already started scraping some of the actual charred pieces out. Anything that's loose, I've already started to break apart. And there's a little bit more that's still loose. But the plan for now is that I'm going to take apart a lot of the stuff that's all in this area here, and at least get it out of the way, set it back as much as I can. And even though it's not really making a major difference for the function of the game, it really isn't, because fortunately we've got some pretty solid bones still with the the whole play field in this area. Everything's pretty solid. I'm going to go back here and try to address this. I'm going to actually fill this in a little bit, all the damaged area, and then I'm going to try to go back and, as close as I can, kind of color match it to some of this gray paint. I've got an airbrush that I'm going to use for this, and it's just, again, this is back to just trying to make something that's such a nice game. Just make little areas that look bad, make them better. So we're going to fix that. That's going to take it's going to take some time, because I got to take all these pop bumpers off. Well, I'm going to take them all off. These, I'm going to polish these brackets out anyways. There's really no damage underneath here or this one, but they're going to get rebuilt with new coils, and just new pieces all throughout. But it's this area here that's the one that needs a lot of work. So it's time to dive in. Okay, I've made some more progress here. So I started removing all the pop bumpers and stuff within that area. I'm not done. I still have need to take this braided wire, like things like this, unstaple those, kind of pull it out of the way. Probably a lot of these lamps, and gosh, I may have to take all this out, just at least kind of get it up and out of the way. But once I do, I'm going to start scrubbing the remaining paint here to see if I can get how much, find out how much of this is just light, just dirt that'll come up. I'm hoping that a lot of this is, you can just kind of clean it up and it's not too bad. But, area all through here, that's definitely going to have to be repaired, and we'll have to see how far back it goes that it's actually burned. I know through here you can tell that that's pretty singed. So I'm going to have to do something about that. Now, the one thing that I have to pay close attention to is all the spots where we actually have, things that are mounted. I don't want to change it to where it's mounting in deeper or higher. So, I would prefer to have to kind of cut around this. And if it's not burnt underneath, which is a good chance it's not, since you had a big metal piece above it, it's probably okay. But I'm going to try to see what I can do and try to make it look a little better. Okay, a little more progress. I've got the switches and the lamps up here on all those rollovers. Got those detached. Took all the screws out. The little actual wire, whatever you call them, little brackets and the little wires for the rollovers, those have been removed. And all the switches put zip ties to kind of hold the switch stacks together, because all the screws are gone. And if I just grab everything, pull it up out of the way, I mean, you've got all the harness here that's just basically kind of holding everything down. So it's really hard to pull everything fully out of the way. But after doing that, I took a magic eraser and some rubbing alcohol, and it definitely improved it some. Got that back down to mostly the the gray paint that's underneath there in that area. You can see where I've kind of worn through it, where it got kind of light. But that area is, it's cleaned up better as far as, the soot is concerned. So this area here, so I've worked on this a little bit more, kind of cutting out just, singed wood. I don't want to go too deep because I don't want to cause a structural issue, but, I've gone through here to try to cut out the actual charred wood. That's not doing any good. So, might work on this just a little bit more, but the next plan is to start putting in some kind of a good wood filler that makes sense to actually go here, and sand that down, and then hopefully come back with my airbrush and just try to kind of hide all that, get it back close to the gray. I don't expect it to be at all perfect, but it'll be something that'll it won't look nearly as bad as what it looked before. So it's time to go work on this a little bit more, see if we can get it ready to start filling in. Okay, so now I've attempted to at least try to fill in most of it. Just had to kind of stay clear of some areas, like right through here. It's it's where the ring and I guess the rods come through. I just decided to not even try to fill in that area, because it's just going to make even more of a mess. And you've got the spots there where the screws are coming through, screw holes. I mean, that well, I guess that's mainly it. So we'll see. This is still drying. This is basically, I think they call this like a water putty. It's basically a wood filler. So I've skimmed over, the layers that it really had some wood that was missing. So I'm gonna let this dry up really good and just kind of sand this down and try to get a good feel to see how well it's going to hold up. And if it doesn't, then we'll scrape it out and try something else. But if it holds well, then we'll be good to go. So the water putty is dried, and I went ahead and sanded it some. I've got it to where it's it's smooth along the edges. It could probably still be filled in maybe a little bit more. It's actually really smooth here. That's done a nice transition through there. I think I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give it one more little quick wipe, and I'm going to mix together some paint and see if I can get as close of a match as I can. This is completely eyeballing it, but try to get something close to this gray. And when I'll end up spraying this in, it's not going to blend in perfectly, but it should look some better. I mean, there's areas here, it's a little hard to see in the camera, but there's, how far are you going to go? Because, some of this, some of the soot or whatever, it's kind of browned a little bit of that gray. But, if I would just get this general area, it should at least make it look a lot better. So next steps, again, just kind of wipe things down and attempt to mix up some paint. The paint that I'm using is this Createx. This is a water-based paint that I'm going to put in an airbrush. I just got a new one and I'm going to give it a shot. I'm still really pretty new at using airbrush, but we're going to give this a try. So here's some opaque paint. It's not transparent. There's actually blue and black that I have here, and I've gone ahead and actually tried to mix up some paints. I've got these little mixing glasses, little jars. It's kind of nice where you can mix this up and then seal off what you don't end up using. But I started out with mostly white in here, and then just started adding in a few drops of black, and did maybe just a couple drops of this blue. But let's kind of see how well this looks compared to where we're heading. This is completely eyeballed, so the trick that I have read about, the thing to try to do is here, get a little bit of this paint, and let's just kind of give it a try to see how well it's going to look. All right, and as I put that down, as it's wet, it looks still a little too bright, a little too light, I mean. But I'm going to take my heat gun and throw a little heat on this and see what happens. And basically then it's just trying to dry it out, and if I don't like it, I can still wipe it off. You know, to me, I think it looks pretty close. I think I'm probably going to stick with it. Set the heat gun down. Get a little better look at it. So, I mean, that's, you know, like I said, it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to, you can't match in all the, you know, blending in all the weathering and everything that's happened here, but I think that will work. So I can actually come back through here and even wipe this out, because it's not fully dry, but it kind of dried the top layer. Put a little bit of water and this should come out. But anyways, I'm gonna try loading up the airbrush gun and get it kind of adjusted and dialed in, and we're gonna see what happens. So I'm trying to put a little bit of the paint down. We'll see how it ends up. Just kind of carefully going over it. The paint's done. I think as good as I can get it. It's, you know, the blue drops that I put in, I probably shouldn't have done it. It's not far off, but I think actually the blue probably wasn't necessary. There was actually quite a few black drops. I didn't mention that earlier. It's mostly white, a little bit of black. Had to put a little bit of reducer in there to get the flow a little bit better. But I think once I put everything back, you know, it's gonna help kind of camouflage everything else. You know, since, you know, other areas of the paint, you know, there's defects, and you can see like in these holes here where they've sprayed some white around the area, and there's speckles here. You know, you get into this area, you're not going to have like all those speckles. Didn't put any of that in. And, you know, this area isn't perfect, but you don't have the whole charred wood anymore. So once we get all this put back, I think it should at least, you know, not look as ugly from all the burned area. So that's it for now.